Welcome and good evening, everybody, to another Full Sail University online class. My name is Steve Kane, and once again, I am here with the audio workstations on this beautiful week 2 Tuesday afternoon. It's lecture 2. It is Tuesday. It's what, April 12th already? Holy moly. We got a handful of minutes after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is just an absolutely gorgeous day here in sunny Florida. Hey, I got a room full of people here joining us today. Devontae, Jasmine, Yancy, Azaria, Tamara, Jose, Corey, Seth, Marissa, Brock, Foreign, our phone-in participant, Hassan, Giovanni, and Marcel. Welcome, everybody. I am so glad that you are here with me today as we jump into our remix project. Doing our rhythm tracks today is going to be so much fun. We got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of setup stuff to get your signal flow going on. So you know what to do. Buckle up those seatbelts. Keep your arms inside. Let's get this party started. But hey, everybody, I am so glad that you are here. We're going to have so much fun today. It's one of my most favorite lectures. I know I say that a lot, but oh, so fun, right? Today we're making drum tracks to go along with our remix. Now, I've gotten some of my grading done. Actually, no, I got all of the grading done that pertain to the remix milestone. So make sure you check that out and look at comments I made about your clip. Some of you need to still adjust your click to get it right on. Some of you have got your click right on. Some of you did a really cool double time like we talked about. Some of you did a cool half time like we talked about. And those are fine. But if I did tell you that it was drifting or it was off, please make sure you go fix that before you turn it in, because it's going to make your editing life so much easier. Now, with doing that, it's also going to make your recording life easier, because then you can have a clip track, you can record, and then we can do Snoop Dogg's favorite MIDI editing. You know what that is, right? Quantize. What? So look at that. So Quantize, faux shizzle. You know what his favorite weather is, right? Drizzle. And the favorite part of the steak? Big grizzle. Or when he cooks it, the sizzle. But do you know how he keeps his t-shirts so nice and white? Bleach. Tiffany's joined us. Glad you're here. Who else? We've got some more people joining us. Oh, my goodness. So, hey, yeah, but we are just like rocking. More people logging on. So I'm glad you're here. So let's just jump right in. Now, like last week, you're going to have a milestone where you got to take some screenshots. I'm not going to make you do another bounce this week. We'll just keep on going with that. But you are going to take screenshots. You're going to put them in Word or Pages. Give me a 1 or 2. How many people use Word? How many people use Pages to make your document before you turned it in? Word or Pages? I got a Word. All right, cool. All right, so a lot of people using Word. So Word can assemble it. Make sure you use your titles. It's always worth 20 points there. So anyway, when you jump in doing this week's work for it, you're going to go under the class resources and archives, and that's going to bring you to the class resources. But you're going to get to the remix guidelines, and that rock there is going to make you see that PDF or right there. All right, so you're going to open that thing up like that, and I'm not going to read it to you, but it says for this project we're going to be creating. I'm kidding. But that, folks, is called joking through or comedy through repetition, right? Because I'm going to say that joke every single time I start a lecture. You're like, some of you are going to start saying it for me, which gets even funnier. Last week, we got a new session. We got 24-bit, right? Everybody know why we did 24-bit, right? It gave me a nice, big, fat dynamic range of 144. For my DB instead of just the measly 96 like it is on CD with 16-bit. So we're doing 24-bit. We're doing a 48K sampling rate because Well, because if we want to get it up on mastered for iTunes and such, it needs to begin life as 2448K. But other than that, I mean, how many people want their stuff on a movie? I sure do, right? More money in that, right? So it's very easy to get to a DVD that's at 96K or a Blu-ray at 192K if we're beginning life at 48K. Because if you're at 44.1, it's like a, instead of just an easy times 2, it's like a 2 point. So with that being said, we also did WAV files. We made interleaved stereo files. We went through and we used our wonderful identified beat, and everybody loved that. Everybody loves identified beat, right? So we got our click track rocking, right? And if you are still having problems with it, let me know. I've got some extra help videos and such I can give you, and we can do a one-on-one if that still doesn't work. We put markers in the song so we could identify the parts of it, and then we just start moving around, chopping and pasting. So everything worked good. Now, today we're going to jump in and do the rhythm. Now, one thing I want to mention before we get rolling is everybody's got cool plugins, right? Everybody's, I mean, that's the cool thing. It's like the kind of plugins you got. Sometimes like on Black Markets, like cool, but don't buy the ones that are like, sketchy, you know what I mean? That's what you're just going to $25. Don't be running those. We're not even going to talk about this. And somebody's like, what are you doing about crack plugin? I was like, I don't know what you're saying. Just not compute. So we all go totally legit here, but only please use the ones that we give you in class. That way, your instructors have them. So what we're going to do today is lay down some rhythm. We're going to do a main drum track that's got a nice steady kick, snare, and a hat. Or something thereabouts. If you want to do a clap or whatever instead of a hat, that's fine. If you want to do a shaker instead of a hat, that's fine. And then we're going to put some secondary rhythm on. And when people say, well, what's the difference? I was like, think about your main rhythm is like your drummer, and then your secondary rhythm is like your percussionist. Right? So that's what we're going to do today, but we got to make sure that we've got everything set up. So we've got to jump down first to teaching tunnel. I used to have this delay where I could hit teaching tunnel, and it like, oh, so, but I don't have that anymore. So that's so anyway, it's kind of cool having Full Sail, teaching at Full Sail and having friends all over the world. It's kind of cool. I had a Russian sound tech friend and a Polish one, and then I had a Czech one too. A Czech one too. So 3 sound guys are walking back from the concert, and one says, "Sure is windy." The other one says, "I thought it was Thursday." And the other one says, "I am too. Let's go grab a drink." Get it? Because the room was going up. All right, I finally got Tiffany to laugh, I think. All right, so seriously though, y'all ready to start? Enough joking around. So we decided that now we can use grid mode. Tell me real quick, what does that allow us to record with? What can I utilize? It sounds kind of like this. Click track, right? So if my identified beat is right now, I can start doing that. So here's what we ended up with. All right, sounded like this. Can everybody hear that? Yes? Okay. Thank you. I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. And then the click track works with that. Let me show you the click track too in here. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to strip out all of the instruments except the vocals. All right, so let's do that real quick. Let's close these windows here. So I'm going to take the acoustic guitar. I'm going to hold down Shift. The guitar, the bass, and the drums. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to hide them and make them inactive. So now all you should have in here is a click track and a vocal. Now, and this is where we're going to start doing our thing. Now, I'm going to tell you the real world thing that's going to go on right now is as you have listened to the recording so far, and by the way, I'm working on a wrapped around that, but the Zoom recordings sound just awful. I do not like the quality sound I am. The delay between what I'm saying right now and what you're hearing, now it says my internet connection is unstable. I'm even plugged into, so what I'm getting at is the delay is horrible, and to try to listen to a clip track that is a 2-second delay because I'm using the Zoom audio engine and record to it is going to be pretty horrible. So please don't judge me. We're going to have to really use some nice editing to get through it. Now, like I said, we're going to jump through a teaching tunnel first, and I just want to teach some signal flow for right now, okay? So now, by the way, I'm going to preface this. This is not how you're going to do things. This is so you understand the background information, because remember, I want you all to be scarecrows. You know, outstanding. So what we're going to do is look at signal flow, and then we are going to do it for real. So we're going to create a new track, and let's, for learning purposes, create a MIDI track. And when I do that, I can also, well, MIDI is different than audio, right? So then I'm going to need to listen to it with an aux track. All right, so we're going to name this MIDI drums, and then MIDI drums return. All right. Now, the columns that I want to see, I've got my inputs and outputs. I've got my inserts. That's fine for right now. Okay, so what are these choices that I have on here? Oh, I got predefined. I've got so what is this? Let me show you here. In the Finder, in the applications, in the utilities, or some people say utilitize, there is the audio MIDI setup. All right, now I use this so often, I put it down in my dock. Actually, is it down on my dock? No, it's not. Look at it. Here's the way I do it. I go right up into my little spotlight, and I just start typing in audio, and then it pops up, and then I hit return, and it launches. Now, let me tell you what the audio MIDI setup does for a second. It sets up your audio in MIDI. Now, let's think about this even a little bit more thoroughly, right? Imagine, if you will, Cupertino, California, right? Home of Apple headquarters, right? Somebody is in a meeting as they're discussing OS 10, right? Of like what app could they put in the OS 10 to make all of your audio and MIDI work right and function properly and route and stuff. And somebody literally said, "How about audio MIDI setup?" The same people that brought you the iPhone, all of this cool creative thing. Somebody said, flipping audio MIDI setup. And then obviously somebody says, "Sounds good to me." I don't get it. But there's two main windows. Guess what they are? The audio window and the MIDI window. Because it's the audio MIDI setup. All right, but check it out. So you've got your audio devices and your MIDI studio. And between these two windows, you're going to be able to tell everything that is hooked up with audio or MIDI. Now, check it out. So I have got this cool keyboard over here. And by the way, I'm going to delete that right now because it's not even there. I've got my my interface plugged in right now. No, actually, is it? It's not. Is that which? Oh, do I accidentally have it? Okay. Interesting. All right, so now let's plug in my keyboard here. And wait a minute, isn't that weird? All right, so it's coming up as something different now. That's it's coming up as an 18i20, and that's not what it is. I mean, look at this. This is so weird. I've never seen this happen. It is. Let's see if I can. It is a UMX 610, and it usually comes up as a UMX 610. That is so crazy. I've never seen this happen, you guys and gals. This is so crazy. It's crazy, I tell you. The crazier part is the 18i20. All right, wait a minute. Do we hear? Now we've got audio. What? Can you hear me now? Yeah. That was so weird. Oh my gosh, that was like the weirdest thing. I was like, all right, I've got some gremlins happening. All right, did y'all? All right. All right, so now let's make sure my screen share is good. All right. Everybody can see my screen. All right, we're looking good there. Everybody sees Pro Tools? Yeah, Pro Tools. All right, good. Thank you. All right, I got to get, cool. All right. I don't know what's going on now. This is some crazy stuff, but I'm glad that you're witnessing this. Because, check it out, the more problems that you see going on, the more familiar you're going to be with getting it back up and running. So I think what just happened is I had an internet glitch. I'm still on my VPN, so that's good. And I am tied in with Ethernet. I don't know if maybe it just got pulled for a second or what, but it just was not happy. Hassan, you got a question? Sounds like static in the background now. Huh. All right, so let's. I'm gonna stop my share for a second. I'm gonna turn it back on, and let's see. Let's try that again. Is that better? 1 2 1 2. Not any better. All right. So what? What is? Oh, because my microphone changed to my built-in microphone. Checky, 1 2 1 2. How about that? Is that better? All right. See, it all gets wacky. All right, so let me check everything else now. Are we still recording? All right, cool. So this is going to be one heck of an upload today. So people are going to be watching this archive going, what in the world? All right, good. Yeah, what happened is it switched to, when it clicked out and clicked back on, it switched over to the internal mic setting. So that was no bueno, which is just Spanish for no good. All right, so let's do this thing. So we're sitting here and we were perplexed because when I turn this off, it totally is the right keyboard. All right, I'm going to actually unplug it. I was just turning the USB power off. I'm going to delete it now. What is happening? Okay, I don't know what's happening, but here's what we did. Now, remember when, I don't know if I told you this, one of the things I would do if you haven't done this already is start either a Word document or an Excel document and write down every single problem that you see that you and your instructors experience, and then write down how they fixed it, because I promise you it's going to happen again. I promise you you're going to recognize it, and I promise you you're going to forget exactly how they fixed it. But if you've got a Word document or an Excel document and you can quickly describe it, like keyboard had different ID information, he unplugged it and replugged it, because just turning off the power, I've got the little powered hub, right? And I was turning the individual USB button on and off, and it wasn't fixing the problem. So I deleted it, and then I plugged it back in, and it worked. Who would have thunk, right? I'm so glad that you got to see that problem, though, because I'm flipping old and been doing this stuff for like 30 years, or let's see, oh gosh, more than 30 years. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. I shouldn't be crazy. And we just saw it. So all right, so now it shows you what MIDI interface or what MIDI keyboard I've got, right? So that's going to be very important, right? Because when I look in my input, it says all, or it says that specific keyboard, right? So that means I can either have a big funnel with anything, and look, I've got MIDI drums behind me, right? I've got MIDI drums behind me. I've got MIDI keyboards over here. You don't see it, but there's a MIDI saxophone that I've got. And so any MIDI device that I start playing, if I leave it on all, will go to the output that I designate. Or, check this out. What if I've got my buddy over here and she's playing drums while I'm jamming? Then I would need to get specific of the UMX 610 or specific the V drums. And I'm kind of in a studio remodel right now. I took out that little plug. Let me see if I can show it to you here. This right here. So it's just a little simple USB and a simple little MIDI interface. Anything special. Just one in and one out. And that way I can just go in and get the keyboard in and out. But I usually have it hooked up to my hub, and then that way I've got this one and then that one over there, right? So, but I don't have it hooked up right now. Otherwise, you could see that it would show up here, and then I could get individual. So, like this person triggers this device, and that person triggers that device. Does that make sense? Right? So if I'm at home just by myself, I'll leave it on all. And then if I play the drums, if I play the keyboard, no matter what I play, it will go to this output device. And we haven't routed it yet, but we will. If I need to get specific, because I have two people playing, I need this one person to go to that device and something else, right? So rule of thumb, if you're at home just playing with yourself, leave it on all. If you've got people over, leave it on something specific. I will be picking up my Yamaha MX-08 tomorrow. I hope so, Tiffany. If not, you're going to be able to send me a message and I'll help you. So, but if it's USB, odds are it's plug and play and it'll be easy peasy. So let's see. So now I've just got this. And so let's first pretend that, can y'all see my organ over here? Right, I got an organ. So let's pretend that I'm going to get that set up, right? So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add that in. And so that's going to be my Korg. And it is, or I'll just put organ for the, actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that blank. So manufacturer, I've got Korg. And then, Tiffany, if this doesn't happen automatically when you plug it in with USB, this is what you would do. Okay, you would say, I'm picking up, what did you say you had? Yamaha. So you put Yamaha, and then under model, you look for MX. So I've got the CX3. And then I hit apply, right? So now, I would say, check it out. If I'm wanting to play this and grab the knobs, is that a master or a slave? A master or a slave if I'm touching it and sending information? Is it a master or a slave? Master. Master. Very good. Good, Tamara. Good, good. Does everybody understand that? Because it's sending information, right? So if it is sending information, do you think I will see that under the import or the output when I look for that? Input or output? Yep. I'm going to see it under the input. Very good. Everybody's like, I'm not going to choose. I'm not going to choose. So, Tamara, thank you for being confident and choosing there. All right, so check it out. I see it not under the import, and I don't see it under the output yet. wait a minute, did I actually hit? Oh, I don't think I finished the process. So now I've got to plug it in. So we said I would use the out port to the in port. And I always, this has to replicate how it's physically wired. You can't have a wish list and wish you had that stuff, right? It's got to physically be wired because you just saw I checked it and it didn't work. So now I'm going to see it under the in port, right? Because it's sending information. So I see it under the input column. I don't see it under the output column, right? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, good. So now let's switch a doodle, right? So let's pretend I didn't have 2 MIDI chords. I only had one, because what I would do then to listen to the sounds, I've got to go out of my keyboard into the device, right? Right? But I don't have 2 MIDI chords. I can't handshake this. So when after I'm done recording, I'm ready to listen to it. So now I'm going out to in. So is this being a master or a slave now? A master or a slave? It's receiving information, right? So now it's being a slave module. Very good, right? Because it's receiving information. So will I see it as an output or an input? Right? So I've got, if it's receiving information, I got to send it from here. So now I see it as the output, but not as the input. All right. So what I wanted you to see realistically is that the reason that we're doing this is that setup totally governs what you are able to see in your inputs and outputs. All right, so that's the only thing I want you to understand right now is that Audio MIDI Setup app controls what you see in your inputs and outputs with Pro Tools, right? Because it sets up your audio and MIDI, right? And my inputs and outputs are audio and MIDI inputs and outputs, right? So if when you have a problem, you always go to AMS to check it. Right? It's because that's telling you exactly what it's seeing. All right. So now I don't have this connected yet, and we said it really has to be this way in order to work. So I don't have this. So now I'm back to not even seeing the CS3 at all. All right. I am seeing my UMX right here. Now, realistically, I'm not going to go out of the system because then if I was when I bring this keyboard back in, for today, I have to go back and look at my audio interface and say, oh, well, wait a minute, 1 and 2 is used, but 3 and 4 is open. So then I would set this input to 3 and 4, right? And then my keyboard would be coming back right here, but that's not the case. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use a plugin, right? Now notice I cannot send it to a plugin right now because I don't have a plugin loaded. So I'm going to first go load a plugin. Multi-channel instrument. I'm going to use the expand. And I'm going to load up, what should we do? Let's listen to the guitars. It's got some pretty crazy guitars in here, man. So, I load up a 12-string guitar. So now that I've got it, I've got the expand 2 on the MIDI drums return, right? So now, check it out. On my output, I go to the MIDI drums return track to the plugin expand 2 on channel 1 because it was all set to channel 1, right? So now listen. As long as I've got to now, what button do I need to hit over here to make sure the signal goes through? Can you lip it to me? Record, right? I got to hit the record button. I'm wanted dead or alive, man. So, and so now I've got MIDI signal flow and I've got audio signal flow, right? Oh, let's. That's crazy. They got some good sounding stuff in here, though. When you
when you look at it and have fun. But realistically, it's better to layer stuff. Not bad, huh? That was Pink Floyd, by the way. All right. So, audio and MIDI signal flow. We good? Now, let's pause for the questions. I may be in the wrong field, my friend. I know you're talking about routing in your interface, Steve. All right, so wait a minute. Let me. I think because in a little bit USB port was so forced. Yeah. The USB hub. I know I was talking about routing into my interface. Yeah. Oh, I got you. I'm all right. I'm catching up on the chat room. There's so much. If you're listening to the archive, there's so much happening in the chat room that it's just so much fun. And if you have ADD like me a little bit, it's and sometimes I have CDO, which is just OCD, but I've got to put it in alphabetical order. All right, let's do this thing. So, let's learn about one more track. Let's learn about an instrument track, shall we? Now, here's how I teach this. Check it out. Get ready to play. You ready? Here we go. 1 + 2 equals... Cool. All right, ready? Peanut butter plus jelly equals peanut butter and jelly. All right, good. All right, here we go. Watch this. MIDI plus an aux equals an instrument. A MIDI track plus an aux track equals an instrument track. Let me add a couple words. When you combine the properties of a MIDI track and the properties of an aux track, you now have invented an instrument track. Okay, so check it out. But you're saying, but wait, I see MIDI routing and I see inserts and audio routing, but here, what's happening? Well, check it out, grasshoppers. So let me introduce to you la instrument column, which is just French for the instrument column. And look at this right here, my friends. Chicka pow wow. Boom. Now, it's not going to make that sound when you do it, but look at this. Would you look at this? Just look at it. Look, my MIDI routing from the MIDI track is now present in the instrument column of the instrument track. Look at this. It looks like MIDI, doesn't it? Looks like MIDI. It must be MIDI. Right? So now I've got inputs and outputs. Oh, look, I've got inserts the same way that I've got inserts here. So I could, instead of putting the plug in here, I could put the plug in there. Would you look at that? And then I've got the audio outputs here and the audio outputs here. So they're going to 1 and 2. Now check it out. I can leave this as no input because the expand is filling it. And now I just make sure my routing is good. We will go to the instrument 1 track to the expand. Oh, look, if it's on channel 2, look, it is not going to play. Or you tell me, is it going to play or is it not going to play? My expand is set to channel uno, which is Spanish for 1. And I am sending it to channel deux, which is French for 2. Oh, somebody's saying it is not going to work. Look at that. No bueno right there. And look, it's sending it MIDI. We can troubleshoot, right? When things aren't working, look at your lights. That helps you troubleshoot. And you're saying, self? And you're like, yes. Why are you calling me self? And you're like, because it's part of the joke. And you're saying, are there any signals coming in? And you're like, well, you should look at the meters then. You're like, what meters should I look at? And you're like, well, you should look at the audio meters and the MIDI meters. I'm like, yes. So I look at the MIDI meters and I see that MIDI is coming in, but it's making no audio. So I say, and then are like, oh, wait a minute, I'm on channel 1. I could change all these to channel 2 or whatever, but look at that. Did somebody just change it to 4? Am I getting hijacked again? I'm going to go back to 1. And now, let's listen to another sound. That was a nice guitar. Maybe we could look at these pads are huge. All right. Let's see what this one. Oh, sweeper. Let's see what this is. Can you feel it? I mean, coming in the air tonight. Bum, 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 bum. All right. So look, I've got MIDI signal flow. I've got audio signal flow now. And if I change the audio, it goes away. See? And now it's routing somewhere else. I route it back to my 1 and 2. So, let's pause for the cause and see if there's any questions. So, we're contemplating this. We've got audio tracks. Actually, let me say this, and then we'll make some little checks. Okay, back in the old days, back in the 1900s, we had audio programs and we had MIDI programs. And if you wanted MIDI, you used things like Logic and Digital Performer. And if you wanted audio programs, you used things like Nuendo and Pro Tools. And then as we came into the 2000s, they said, hey, everybody's using both. We should do both. So now Performer now turned into Digital Performer and had audio tracks, and Pro Tools decided to have MIDI tracks. And they all kind of sucked at what they were adopting. And then in about 2006, we had this brilliant thing. OS 10 started coming around, and everybody just started getting computers are powerful and everything. And then they said, well, wait a minute. Why should I have to use 2 tracks just to get MIDI through? I've got to have a MIDI track and an audio or an aux track. Right? I don't need that. So they said, why don't we make this new thing called an instrument track and combine all the properties of a MIDI track and an audio track, and that way when somebody wants to use these new fancy wing-dang-doodle things called plugins, they can, right? Because you used to have to go to a music store and go and figure out all the sounds. Well, now you've got plugins, and now I don't care what sound this makes, and actually this doesn't even make any sound. I care more about what it feels like to me because I'm a piano player, right? So now we're going to agree, or let's at least see if this has made sense, that we have a MIDI signal flow and an audio signal flow whenever we are listening to MIDI happen, right? Because the MIDI has to tell it to do it, and then the audio has to get to our ears. Can everybody give me a thumbs up that there's 2 different signal flows, a MIDI signal flow and an audio signal flow? All right, awesome, perfect. Now, so then we decided that nowadays, because technology finally went up, I really don't need a MIDI track and an aux track unless I'm using outboard gear like that organ, right? So, and honestly, I guess I don't have to have it at that point either. So I'm going to hide and make these inactive. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this my drums for MIDI. And now I've got a plug-in here, and I'm going to change it to a drum sound. And we got it. Cool. So now, in a very interesting way, I'm going to start figuring out what I want to record. So I'm going to go up here and set a loop from like 6 to maybe just like a 4-bar loop, right? From 6 up here to, or 4 to 8, right? So I'm going to hold down shift and I'll just click that 4 bars.
I want to be a star, she said. I want to be a star. I want to be a star.
And we're going to write drums to this. Now, how many people think you are really good at making drums? How many people think, holy cow, this is going to be something that I've done the first time in my life and it's going to be challenging? Okay? All right. So, and then how many people have, I've done it before, but if you got some cool tips, I'd be happy to listen to some tips. All right. So, here's the thing. This was the coolest thing my dad ever taught me as a musician. My dad's a fabulous musician. That's his old Gretsch on the wall. If you see that old 1953 Gretsch, that's my pop's guitar there. And he was an awesome musician, still is an awesome musician. I wish I could play piano like he does, or guitar for that matter. Scholarship to Juilliard, scholarship to Curtis School of Music, and he didn't take either one of them. But anyway, here's what he told me. He says, "You're never gonna." I was playing at the Monterey Jazz Festival, right? And I'm playing keys, and everything's going cool, and then it comes time for me to solo, and I'm like, and I was thinking too much, right? And same thing happened. I was playing sax, and everything's cool. I could play the lead lines, anything anybody put in front of me, I could sight read it, and it was fine. But then when it came time for me to make up my own solo, I was like, "Bleh." And here's what Dad said. He's like, "You're never going to be able to play one." And I said, "Well, thanks, Dad." And he says, "No, I'm not meaning that." He says, "You're never going to be able to play one until you can sing one. So sing it first, and then try to play what you sing." So here's the way I would tackle this. If I'm trying to write drums, I would think kick and snare first. Get your head going to the beat and like, if you're halftime, right? I heard somebody clicking halftime. Their click was going 1, 2, 3, and that's fine. If your click was going like this, you may be thinking. I wanna be a star. I wanna be a star. She said. If you were doing double time, you might be thinking. I wanna be a star. She said. I wanna be a star. Right? Either way you feel it, that's your deal, right? As long as the click is matching in either halftime, regular, or double, I'm cool with it, right? So if we're thinking like this, or you know what? Check this out. And I'm not going to be able to do this because of the horrible delay, but in a studio situation, what I would do is I would set up a loop record and watch what happens when I set up a loop record. Actually, you know what? Let's pause for a second and just learn a little bit about Pro Tools just for a quick second, right? So the way it's going to record with MIDI is different than the way it records with audio. All right, and let's just take a pause in doing the project and just learn a little bit. All right. So I'm gonna look at both of these and let's see if it's actually gonna. It doesn't matter if it records voices or not. But check this out. Right now we are in a normal record mode. Right, it's not destructive. Right, so that means we're gonna turn ourselves to a normal record mode. Let me show you. Transport. So right click on that, it says normal. Normal is non-destructive because if you've got destructive, then the opposite is non-destructive, right? So let's check this out, right? So I'm going to record. And I'm just going to do what I'm going to call an auto punch. It means it's automatically going to punch itself in and out based on that selection I just made right there, those 2 bars, all right? So check this out. I'm going to record and watch what happens. Check. All right. So now I've got teach 1 and drums 1. Right. Now this is supposed to be non-destructive. Right. So, but watch what happens when I record over it again. Check. Oh, you know what? I messed up. My merge button was on. I didn't want to do that yet. So let's pretend that didn't happen. All right. So we got drums 1 and teach 1. So now I go record again, but watch. Now it's going to actually record over my drums and kill it. It's still drums 1. But look, my audio went to teach 2. So my audio was non-destructive. You can see it right here. It still kept teach 1. And there's teach 2. But drums, even though the record mode was normal, it still treated it destructively. I'm not expecting you to fully grasp that yet, but did that make sense? Because it stayed the number 1, it destroyed the old recording. Let's do that one more time. I'm going to record over it again. It's going to go to teach 3 because it's non-destructive with the audio, but it stays MIDI. Oh, because I didn't play, it went to MIDI 2. But watch this. If I play, it'll stay MIDI 2 now. It'll still destroy MIDI 2 because it was different. All right. Oh, now it went back to MIDI 1. It's being silly on me. But look, it is just being... Now we're at the 4, and it's still going to say MIDI 1. But now look, here's where it gets crazier. All right, so did everybody see that? That it's, yes, it's different. Even though it said normal record mode, even though it said non-destructive, audio was being non-destructive. We saw it. We still got our old one, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But drums MIDI, it did that silly number 2, but for the most part, it was staying on number 1 because it was being destructive. I know it's weird, but did you see it? I'm not asking you if you agree with it, but you saw that it was happening, right? All right, now check it out. Here's where it gets weird. Let's pretend I liked that. I liked drum 1, and I don't want to destroy it. I'm going to hit delete, and it takes it out of my tracks window, but look, it leaves it in my clips list. So now, when I record again, now I'm going to go to, I've got drums 3 and teach 6. Let's pretend I liked drums 3. So I highlight it and I delete it. It's off of the screen, but it's still over here. So now I'm going to go get now when I record again, I'll get drums 4. And I've got drums 4, but teach 7. Now, if I didn't like drums 4, I can leave it on there, and so when I re-record it, it stays drums 4 then. Crazy, huh? So, this is one of those things that I expect you to have to play with it for 3 or 4 minutes at least before you start fully wrapping your head around it. So, can MIDI be destructive? Yes. Can MIDI be non-destructive? Yes. Right? Even if you're in the in the normal mode, right? So, that was a little bit weird. So, what I have done, now follow through with me here. Instead of going all over, all right, let's hit pause for a second. Let me see either thumbs up or thumbs down if we need a little more explanation. In a nutshell, these last couple minutes, I want us to think, all right, that even though my record mode is non-destructive, the nature of the beast says MIDI still acts destructive if you leave it on the screen, but if you take it off of the screen, it still lives in the clips list. So that's how you trick it to being non-destructive. Yes or no? Questions? I'm looking up. Okay, so and the setting that allows me to do that is it's just the way it is. It's kind of like when you said, well, why does gasoline explode when you put fire on it? Because it does. That's just what it does, right? So why is MIDI destructive even though it says the mode is non-destructive? All right, so let's do this again. All right, we have record modes, right? And Pro Tools follows one of 6 record modes, right? Today we're going to talk about normal and loop, and we decided that normal, since they have a destructive mode, normal must be non-destructive. So that means that it's going to keep everything I record. It's not going to destroy anything. Destructive would mean it destroys it if I record over it. Everybody cool with the terms destructive and non-destructive? Okay. Now, let's do fact number 2. There are 2 types of data that I can record in Pro Tools. Audio data and MIDI data. All right. Because Pro Tools started life as an audio workstation, normal, non-destructive is fine. Because it added MIDI later, it had to think a little backwards. So even though when I'm recording, if I leave it on the screen, it will record over it and destroy it, but not the audio. Only for the MIDI, not for the audio. So we will see drums stay 5 and audio go to 10. Drums stayed 5, it got destroyed. The original 5 got destroyed. The 9 still stayed there because it made that. So now we're saying that even with the mode as non-destructive, MIDI still got destroyed when we left it on the screen. And audio did not get destroyed when we left it on the screen. Right? So audio got destroyed. We good? Sorry. MIDI got destroyed. Because it was on the screen, yes. Drums stayed the same number because it was on the screen. So I like that because I'm thinking that's good for verse 1. Why don't I just stay here and record something different for verse 2 that will be named MIDI 6? So when I like my MIDI, I take it off of the screen. It still stays in my clips list. So when I record my new one, now I have a new MIDI 6 and I still have my old MIDI 5. Because I took it off of the screen, I tricked the system. It didn't destroy it. So, just the nature of the beast. It's not really a setting. All right? So now let's do this. So I'm going to... Now we're going to hide and make that inactive. So now my drums... Whoops. I didn't mean to make my drums inactive. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I told you I'm thinking about kick and snare, and so I'm going to do my two-handed approach. I'm going to do kick and snare, all right? You're probably going to find, I'm going to try to go down here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch cameras. Here a second. I got to do camera setup in this thing. It's pretty fancy, man. All right, so let me try this for a second. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and now I'm going to go back for a screen share and activate my iPhone. And now we're going to go screen mirroring. All right, so check it out. Now what I'm going to do then is I've got my, and sorry that the image is reversed, but my kick is on the note C, my snare is on E, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both fingers and I'm going to go boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, boom, and I'm going to make my drums, okay? So I'm going to hit record and play, and I'm going to record on my MIDI track. And I like that. Now, I got a problem though. First off, what editing function can I use to fix my rhythm? Remember, it's Snoop Dogg's favorite one. Yes, Tamara, I am. When I say I am deleting the drum off of the screen, I simply highlighted it and hit the delete key. Thank you for your clarification. And then Yancey, you're right. Quantizels is what I'm looking for. Quantize. And all of our MIDI functions are going to be under the event menu, under the event operations, and then you will see Quantizel right there, option 0. So I'm going to go ahead and do 16th notes and go ahead and apply that. And now I know that they're going to be done. And if I look in my MIDI editor window, my MIDI event list or my MIDI editor, I can see that they're nice and quantized, right? I wanna All right, now there's a mistake. So even though it's quantized, I still might need to go back and tweak out some things, right? So that was early, that early snare. All right, so both of these, that one and that one, all three of those were early. Do dot do do, and then I want that and do and all right, so now it should be right. Okay, so now check it out. I've got my kick and my snare the way I want, and just put it on loop and sing it a couple times, right? And get it to yourself where you can like doom da, doom ba, and then start playing what you're singing. Okay. Now what I want you to do is put some hi-hats on there. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, they should go right there, but I just saw that it got destroyed, right? So check this out. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I messed up a little while ago, and when I first did this, and check this out. This is a Midi Merge button. And so now when I turn on the Midi Merge, now it's not going to destroy number 7. It's going to add and merge to number 7. So now what I can do, I got my hi-hats, right? So now check it out. I'm going to go merge on with my hi-hats. Now that I've got this selected, check it out, though. I could go into my count off and maybe give myself 2-bar count off. So now when I hit record, let's see how that sounded. Probably horrible. Yes, absolutely horrible. We're going to hit undo. Now I want to show you another secret. So I don't want to have to go through and I just quantize my kick and my snare, and then it's like I needed to fix my hi-hat. So in order to minimize that, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to turn on this thing called input quantize. So now it's going to quantize on the input. So I will hear it messed up as I play it, but then when I play it back, it's going to be cool. Watch this. There's only one mess up there now, and if you look, everything's right on the tick. So check it out. I can click right here and hold down Option, and when I do that, it'll add a note. So now I can fix that one. All right. So now it should have been 1 and a. There we go. Come on. I wanted that on the and that right there. I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. Cool. All right. So now I fixed my drum line. All right. So let's pause for some questions. Anybody got any questions? It's still on the iPhone screen. Thank you so much. See, that's what happens when I get carried away with extra cameras, and I need somebody switching for me. I need like a live switcher, like a video producer or something. All right, so what I did is I turned on the Midi Merge button right here, right? And so the Midi Merge button is what stopped it. Notice I'm still on drum 7, and I added my hi-hats on top of it, and it kept the number 7, just added the hi-hats, and I turned on my 2-bar count off. So that's where I got my 2 bars, because it'll either click off the 2 bars or not. So that was my 2-bar count off. And then what I had done is in the same spot that I did my quantize, I did an input quantize. And the screen looks exactly the same. I chose 16th notes, and then I just enabled it. And so that's what you missed when I was still showing the phone. So let's pause there and do some questions. So now, even though we're still in normal mode, because I utilize Midi Merge, it didn't destroy the recording. It merged it on there. I turned off my count off, so I didn't have to start at measure 1, and I just gave myself 2 bars there. And if you want to double click that and change that, you could change that. If you really want to tick yourself off, make yourself count off every time you hit play, and you're like, oh. So we've got our OK there, and so now we've got this.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
All right. So you know what? I want to fix that one. There's one other hi-hat I did not like.
I wanna be a star.
I want to go dun 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 dun.
I wanna be a star, she said.
That'll work. All right. So here's what we do now. Check it out. I've got probably 4 real bars. Yeah, because we went. I started off at measure 4. The music starts at measure 4, and then it probably goes 4 to 8. Right. All right. There. So there it is. Check this out. Now what I can do is I can just duplicate that part. And notice it renamed it. It renamed the first one and then renamed the part that I'm duplicating. All right. So now I've got drums 9 that I can duplicate out, and it sounds good still because it's following the tempo.
There's a lady on the roof looking up at the stars that shine.
Okay. Now, I bet you could guess if I changed one thing in drums 9 right here, it would change this drums 9 and this drums 9 and every other drums 9, right? Because they're all the same. So what editing mode did I teach you yesterday that we could glue all these back together and remake one big long audio file? It's like a join, yep. It starts with a C, yep, cool, nice. So consolidate, yep. And so what my trick is go 1, 2, 3, get all of them, but then check this out. Hold down Shift and double click so it gets it from the beginning, right? And then I can go Consolidator, Option, Shift 3, because you've got the option to shift more than 3 together. See, I don't even know where it is right here. Oh, there we go, Consolidate. And so now I've got a new MIDI clip, and it's got it all. So now what I can do is I can do a little bit of subtractive editing, right? And maybe start giving myself like a halftime feel. And then, so check it out.
I wanna be a star, she said.
You know, and I could kind of keep that going for a minute and do that halftime thing. And so take out every other snare for a minute and then take out the in-between hits. All right, so now I've just created a halftime feel for the first part, and then it's going to go into more of a straight feel.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. I wanna be a star, she said.
And this is where I can start, you know, doing, you know, even other stuff like, oh, let's put it right back up there, and now I'll just make.
I wanna be a star, she said.
And maybe I want to do a butt up right there. So maybe I'll do a option, right? and do something like this.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be.
And that one I want to go butt up. So I'm just going to spit over a 16th note. So I've got now an 8th note repeat and then a 16th note repeat.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
And then maybe I want to go back to my my halftime feel right here. And then let's see. And then so now we go back to our halftime. There we go. So you get the idea that you can start now tweaking. You don't have to record everything that you're hearing. You can just record a little bit and then get your editing tools out and start moving them around and all right. So as far as writing the stuff down, so I do want you to input with MIDI, right? But then I also want you to practice editing your MIDI and getting in there and tweaking your stuff out. All right. So now you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. Why would I leave all that on one track, right? I mean, realistically, would you do that and have your kick, or you can have it separate kick, separate snare, separate hat, right? So let's go keep them separated. So now what I want to do is take them all out. If I go to my vent menu, I can separate all them out, right? Split the notes out. And what I'm going to tell it to do is look at all the notes up and down the scale and split them away, cut them, don't leave them on the original one, and have every pitch make a new track. And that way I can have a kick track, a snare track, a hat track, and an open hat track. So now I do this, and now I've got 4 different tracks that are broken down per note. Now check it out. My 3 fingers doesn't work until I individually move these, and I don't know why, but that's just the way it works. So now that I've done these, now I can do 3 fingers down, and it works. All right, so let's go ahead and rename these. So this was my open hat. This was my hat. This was my snare. This was my kick. So I need to get plugins on these, right? So now what I can do is I can hold Shift and Option, and I'll just go put that same plugin on there. And then boom, they all go. So now check it out. So for the open hat and the regular hat, let's go ahead and use that pop kit. They have good brass on that. So check it out. Instead of closing this and going back and get the other one, I'm going to say, hey, just show me the one on the hat track now. And it shows me the one on the hat track. And so we'll use the same sound for that. But then on the snare, whoops. On the snare, let's go grab a different drum sound. Let's get the one from the Dry Studio set. Oh, no, Disco set. And then for the kick, let's get some old 808 kind of stuff.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
Yes, Tiffany, very much like Logic in that respect.
I wanna be a star.
So now I've written my hats. I've got all these. Now check it out. When you're looking at your rubric, it's going to say that you have to create them with MIDI tracks. Then they've got to be recorded as audio. And here's why, right? You're going to get to a point and you're going to be looking at your system usage, and you're going to start getting some crashes. Look, already I'm using 58% of my memory, right? And as I get more plugins on there, my 8 processor is going to get really rocking. My memory is going to get going, and then boom, I'm going to crash. A great way to prevent that is by recording things down as audio. It's much easier for this thing to play just straight back an audio file than it is to try to do all these MIDI real-time plugins and everything. Tiffany, I saw your question right as you left about the piano tab in Logic. Very similar like that in Logic. You can click that and go, oh, you just got your earpiece in, so you didn't even hear me. So, Tiffany, I just saw your question about the piano tab in Logic, and yes, it does work very similar to that. You click on the note, and it'll light up all of the ones on that same note for your hats and stuff or whatever. All right, so the system usage, yes. So in order to combat this, we want to change things to audio, and when I do this, I've got a couple different ways to do it. Here's my favorite. So I'm going to do all of this at the same time, so I'm just going to shift-click on these, and then I'm going to right-click. And when I do this, check this out. Commit, all right? And what I love about commit is it turns into audio, and it gives me a couple options. Now, number one, if I did have volume and automation going on, then I would certainly, use it. But we're not gonna mix yet, so we're just gonna take that out. I do not want to delete them. Right, so all we're going to do the original tracks is hide them and make them inactive, and if you do it offline, it'll happen quickly. But watch, it turns all of these into audio. And now, you know what? My vocal is also blue, so I want to take these and make these more of a brown there. All right, and then check it out. To get my clips going the same way, check this out. Pro Tools preferences on the display, I'm going to have the default clip color be the same as the track color, and then I can tell by looking what I've got. Matter of fact, I'm going to just get even sillier, and I'm going to have my kick come on, double click on the color. I'll have my kick be a dark brown, and then my hats be an even lighter brown. Make the brightness go up. Actually, no, I'm going to go reverse. I'll make my snare be the medium color. And there I got it. And so now I can tell by looking 3 different colors for my 3 main drum sets. All right, now, if I wanted to start editing these, I probably would want to get a group going on. Notice how I've got the all group, and that way if you do something to one, it does it to everybody. So I want to get something just for our drums. By the way, this drums MIDI track I don't need anymore, so I'm just going to option click off, and then we'll just right click and hide that and make it inactive now. All right, so now let's have a group made from these 4. So I'm just going to go to track and group, and I'm going to just call it drums and make it an edit mix group. And then that way, as you start editing, like if you wanted to take now this part from intro to and shift click here, I can copy that and then go to the chorus and paste it. Cool. So groups are kind of cool like that when you're still in the editing and building phase. All right, so now let's just say my drums are done. I'm going to unclick my group. Actually, I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to triple click, 1, 2, 3. So now if I've done some editing, I'm just going to do one more consolidate. Whoops, consolidate, shift option 3. And then that way I get everything back as one file that starts right from the beginning. I told you that's just a common thing for people to do, and that way it's just works. All right, so now we're going to move on to some fun. Actually, let's pause. Let's see. Open hat is an open hi-hat. Yes. It also makes a similar sound to a cymbal. Yes. It's so you open it with the foot pedal, so it goes like it's that all right, when you say click or you hitting return, might when I let's see, when did I say that, Tiffany? Let me go back and read on the piano tabs. Is it still easy to change MIDI patterns after changing the MIDI files? Yes, Nicholas, you can just go back and redo them and then recommit them if you like. The open hat is all right. So the hi-hat opens and closes. I was going to see if I could show you on my drum set there, but it's just out of sight. But it's the sandwich looking thing of cymbals that are on the pole that go like that, and you control it with your foot. So you get that type of sound. Let's see. So when I shift click, shift clicking gets everything in between them, right? So if I click on one thing and then shift click on the other, it will get everything in between it. If I needed to skip things, I can hit Command and click, and then it will skip whatever and just add one thing on. Shift Option 3 is the shortcut for consolidate. Yes, because I have the option to shift more than 3 together. And you'll see these, Tiffany, on the left-hand side, a lot of these. And so I've just made a habit. If I've gone and done something 2 or 3 times up in the menu, I try to learn the quick key, and that way I just a little bit easier. And then under the group, to create the groups, Yancey, I just highlight the names that I want within the group, and then you go under the track menu because you're wanting to group some tracks. So it's going to live under the tracks menu. Awesome. Let's see. All right. Well, that looks like all the questions. Any others while we're pausing for the causing? Did you hear about the zoo that only had one dog? It was a Shih Tzu. My son said, "Nothing rhymes with orange." And I said, "No, it doesn't." All right. No more questions. All right. You're like, just stop telling the jokes, man. Just get back to the music. All right. Let's look at this. So we want at least 3 main sounds for your drums. Like I said, if you're looking at a snare or a clap or whatever, just have 3 main ones. You can use a ride cymbal if you want or whatever, instead of a hi-hat or something. But then we also want you to have 3 percussive type of instruments: shakers, tambourines, timbales, claves, rototoms. If you're wanting to do some Miami Vice sound and stuff, and then if you do have a loop library and you want to use that, feel free to use a loop if you want to, but I only want one instrument that is a polyphonic loop, please. All right, so let's play with another plugin. I'll show you a drum machine plugin. So let's go get a few more tracks. You know what? Let's just get more than we think we're going to need. Let's get 10 stereo instrument tracks, and then that way we don't have to waste time doing it again. That's one of my tricks. By the way, we've got, right now, let's take a snapshot. I'm going to save. I'm going to take those instruments off. I'm going to hide them. So I'm just going to unclick the little dot beside them. I'm going to do my 3 fingers down. And now, check this out. Under my window menu, I'm going to look at my memory locations. Remember how we had the separate locations earlier? Well, now look what I'm going to do. I've got all my tracks, my vocal and my drum so far. So I'm going to hit function return. And this time, I'm going to say, let's make number 90. Let's make this be a view for all tracks. And instead of marking the position of 46.3, I don't remember any of that. Instead, remember what tracks are showing the track visibility and how big they are. And hit OK. And so now I've got all my tracks. Well, now let's go ahead and just do another couple. Let's take the vocals off. And now I've got just my drums, right? So I'm going to do function return. I'm going to do drums. Option tab will go backwards. I'll make that 91. I do not want it to keep the marker, just keep the visibility. All right, cool. So now I've got my drums. Well, now I'm going to take my drums off and put my vocal back on. And so now I'm going to do function return and call that Vox. And make that one number 92. And hit OK. And so now, look at this. I never have to screw around with this little tracks column again. I can say, show me all the tracks. No, you know what? Show me just the Vox. Nope, you know what? Show me the drums. Is that not cool? Right? So, holy moly, and check it out. That's what I was talking about last week when we said markers. Look at that. We said, we'll identify parts in the song, and then I said later on in the month, I'll show you how to maybe recall groups of tracks, so it makes it really easy because you eliminate the need to click those little buttons. Because can you imagine if I had 200 tracks like when we were setting up for Dream Theater? Psh, oh my gosh, right? So, I don't want to deal with all that. So I now am using memory locations to also show what's on the screen and get to different parts of the song. It's crazy. Oh, my goodness. All right, so let's get 3 more. Let's get my drums, and then we'll add 3 more drums. So 3 fingers down, and let's name this. Maybe we'll have, let's see, we'll do a clap. We'll do a clap, and just give me that's my second rhythm. And then we'll see if we can find some kind of shaker or something like that. Shaker, second rhythm, and then I've got a leap. Okay. All right, so here's the one I'm going to show you on this one is, I'll hold down Shift and Option, so it does it to all of them. We'll just use the DB33 on this one. All right, so the DB33 is kind of like an old school drum machine. No, it's not. That's the organ. Here's what I meant to say. I meant to say boom. Let's go again and change it to boom. Slipped up. Change, yes. All right, so now we've got boom, and this is a nice little drum machine. Now, down on the bottom, you can just start triggering your sounds, right? So we'll go find some kind of clap sound. There it is, right there. And you can play around with it. All right, so now when we go, I got a nice second rhythm. So let's go back to measure 3. And by the way, did you see that just highlight up? All I did was I hit *3 and enter. But that was on my big keyboard. Let's do it.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
All right, we're having fun, right? So now we got the clap laid down. Let's go find a shaker. And we'll get this. We'll kind of screw around with that open hat. Oh no, I think we gotta have that. The little high tom. Oh no. That's a good shaker right there. Alright, so let's do something here.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
All right, so now we've got some really awesome secondary rhythm going in. All right, and so Nick is going, dude, I think you need to quantize those. So when you're ready to quantize them, what you do is back up under the edit menu, you go to event operations, and you quantize it. And maybe I'll change it up and just put it right on the eighth notes there. Okay, and maybe that fixed it.
I I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
Tiffany is saying several of the claps are offbeat. Don't judge Tiffany. Come on. You remember I told you about that delay? It's hard. It's hard out there with a delay. All right. Let's play around with this loop. Now, here's the cool thing on Boom is when you're setting these presets, it's got some different grooves in it. But check this out. If you, around the first couple of octaves, you just have single drum hits. But if you get up into the third octave and hold it down, and they're each different. No, they're not. All right, let's find a different one. I was like, here I am. I was like, oh, they're all different. There you are. And so each different one is doing a different beat, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to change it as I'm rolling.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
And then I can start it over. Look at that.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
We get that. So, a lot of fun with loops. Just have fun. Oh, and this is kind of neat too. Is you can start editing them as well by clicking and unclicking, right, and turning the velocities lower, right. So you can clear them all, build your own, have fun with your loops. This is like an old school drum machine, like an 808 kind of thing. So you are probably going to find that you are going to want to... Oh, did I not record any of those? I'm so silly. Oh, you know what? No, I Midi merged to all of that. So what I... oh, you know what? Well, never mind. I'll just do it here one more time.
I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star. I wanna be a star, she said. I wanna be a star.
There we go. And now we've got all of it there. So between the main drums and the secondary rhythms, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I should have done a save as throughout today and done something like this of like, all right, now we're still on day 2. We're done with our drums. Now we're going to do our percussion or something like that. All right, and then I've got a save as, and I've got a couple different things. And I was just going too fast, you know. But, and, you know, Thorne says he hates using loops. You know what's kind of funny is I told somebody, I was like, well, what a great compliment. Because they said, oh, dude, that loop is fat. Where'd you get that? And I was like, I don't use loops. I made it. So I was like, yeah. You can pull from Apple Loops if you've got that. But what we don't want is your whole remix being a bunch of loops. All right, so if you want to use your Apple loops, if you want to use Boom loops or something like that, if you want to use several different loops in other locations, I just don't want to be able to look down your screen and have you having triggered a bunch of loops, you know, throughout that kind of stuff. So we're trying to get your musicality up, you know what I'm saying? And freedom for your own sounds. Yes, this is where I told you this is the fun one. The weekly Pro Tools assignments are very much paint by numbers. You have to do it exactly like me so that I know that you know how to do it, right? Then you're going to take that stuff that you learn and apply it today, like all your copying and pasting and all that kind of stuff. And now you can do whatever you want to. Pick whatever sounds you want, whatever bass you want. We just want you to have those type of sounds. And then if it gets so crazy that you're like, no, instead of a kick, a snare, and a hat, I want a pig oink and a dog bark and a cat meow. Well, just label it appropriately. Like the kick is played the part by the pig, so it's like or whatever. I don't care. So, I created a loop that records multiple sounds. Oh yeah, totally. So, just like that drum thing, when I'm doing a drum program, and I'm going to show you this next week, that I can loop record. And as I can add things to it, and I like to do like strings like that, so that way I can start with a bass and then get to a tenor and an alto and a soprano type of thing. The loops get stored with the clips, yeah, because what's happening is they're just individual MIDI notes, but when those MIDI notes are routed to that plugin, it's going to sound like a loop. So what could also happen is if I routed anything else to that plugin, if it hit the right note, it might start playing the loop because it's just information, right? So, let's see. Look at Jose just eating and running, man. Come on. All right. So, yeah, I think that's about it. The big thing I want to stress is that you got to use the plugins that we're using. That we gave you, the Air instruments or the Expand stuff. And then today we did our 3 tracks for main rhythm and 3 tracks for secondary rhythm. The difference between the two are the drums are more the steady type of thing. The secondary rhythm is more of like the percussion stuff that's a little salt and pepper. Prince is a percussion genius. If you're ever trying to get some inspiration about a steady beat and then some awesome percussion that just accents it, go listen to some Prince. Yeah, Devontae, let's do that in just a few minutes, okay? Yeah, with that being said, are there any other questions about what we're doing today? I'm going to stay after class, as I always do, and kind of get started. I had some questions more about the MIDI setup. We're going to start over, or look at some of that afterwards. But I want to thank y'all for being here. If you are having questions or something isn't making sense, make sure you reach out to your instructor and get some help before you dive in a couple hours trying to make sense of it yourself. So I want to thank Corey, Tamara, Tiffany, the name went off the screen, I forget who that is, Yancey, Nick, Devontae, Jasmine, Colton, Jason, Marissa, Marcel, Thorin, Brock, Seth, and Giovanni. Thank y'all all for being here. It has been such a pleasure. We're going to be back next week, Monday at 1 p.m. in the afternoon with your Pro Tools 3 assignment coming at you. If you're in my class, I should be wrapping up my grades by tomorrow. Should have most of your grades done already if they're not already done. So anyway, have a super fun week. Reach out to us, get some help. We're available a lot of different hours. So if you're having trouble getting in touch with us, just ask for an appointment time. All right, that's the best way to do it. So it's been a pleasure being here with y'all. Again, my name is Steve Kane with the Audio Workstations class. Peace out. Isn't that an awesome song?